The value our community has put on education has been evident since the first families started living on the western shores of Lake Minnetonka. From 1858, when Minnesota gained statehood and school was being taught in a log cabin, to the formation of local one-room schools, to the decision just over a century ago to consolidate and build a high school, the communities on the west side of the lake have made education a priority. Today, we look back on our history and share a proud past and promising future as we celebrate a century and beyond.
The first official school district in the community was Mound District 85, organized in 1860. Its one-room log school, called Mound City School, looked very much like this illustration from the first high school yearbook. The very next year, Mound was divided into 3 sub-districts, and 2 more log schools were built for the Jackson School and the Lee School. The log schools became white frame schools. Mound replaced the white schoolhouse with the Little Red Schoolhouse, actually a 4-room brick building on about the site of the present Wells Fargo Bank, in 1908. The Jackson School, Lee School, Ekstrom School in Saga Hills, and Spring Park Schools continued to serve their communities.
Each of these small schools gave its neighborhood a special identity, but only served students through 8th grade. That was the end of education, unless children took the train to Minneapolis or Wayzata to go to high school. In September 1915, residents of Mound, Spring Park, and parts of Minnetrista and Orono voted to join as Hennepin County Independent Consolidated School District 85 and approved funds to build a high school. The school board of the new consolidated school district met for the first time on October 11, 1915. For the next 2 years, the school board continued to operate the neighborhood schools, found rented space for high school classes, hired Arnold Glure as the first superintendent, and oversaw construction of the new high school. It was built for $55,000 on the present site of Mound Marketplace across the street from the Little Red Schoolhouse. More than 1,000 people gathered for the dedication on September 3, 1917, Labor Day. 2 young women transferred from Minneapolis schools to Mound Consolidated High School as seniors to become the first MCHS graduates in 1918. Their names were Lulu Seafarth and Frida Weber.
The 1917 school was built to house grades 1 through 12, but as the rural one-room schools closed, the new building and the Little Red Schoolhouse became more crowded. By 1926, it was necessary to build a 2-story annex onto the high school building. In 1937, the community was asked to vote on building a new high school. A new separate building opened in 1938, connected to the original high school, but with an automatic fireproof curtain in between. The new high school had 11 classrooms, a state-of-the-art science lab, an auditorium with 1,200 seats, a gymnasium, a lunchroom, and a library, and now housed a senior class of 64 students. The project included remodeling the 1917 building and 1926 annex to serve grades K through 9, and the Little Red Schoolhouse was permanently closed. Student numbers continued to grow. Shirley Hills School was built in 1952, and Elizabeth Gardner in 1957 next to the Spring Park School. Grandview Junior High opened in 1958. By 1959, there were 120 students in the high school senior class. On Labor Day 1963, the 1917 and 1926 portions of the original high school burned to the ground. The 1938 building was saved. The burning building was replaced with an unusually shaped 1-story structure that became known as the Pods. When Hilltop Primary School opened in 1964, the district closed and sold Elizabeth Gardner. Land was acquired and a bond issue passed for a new high school in Minnetrista, which opened in the fall of 1971. District offices moved into the pods, and the 1938 building was converted to a variety of uses, including a senior center, a daycare center, preschool, and offices. In 1999, the buildings were sold to a developer who tore down the structures and built a shopping center and townhouses. A new Hadorf Field and district office were built out by the new high school, opening in 2002 and 2003.
Along the way, during the last century, Mound District 85 became Westonka District 277. Mound High School became Mound Westonka High School, and the Mohawks became the Whitehawks, all while essentially remaining the same school. The story of that journey has some interesting twists and turns. In the late 1930s, the story goes, students at the high school decided the annual, or yearbook, needed a name other than the Mohian, short for Mound High Annual, and the teams needed a nickname. They settled on Mohawks because it went with Mohian, and the annuals had long used Native American imagery. In 1957, the state of Minnesota renumbered many school districts, and Mound District 85 was assigned Independent School District 277. In January 1970, with the new high school under construction, the school board voted to change the name from Mound to Westonka High School. By the May meeting, in response to a student petition and community pressure, the school board reconsidered and voted that the high school in its new location would be known as Mound Westonka High School. It wasn't until 1977 that the school board passed a resolution that, in all informal matters, the district should be referred to as Westonka Public Schools. In 1988, the Minnesota State School Board adopted a resolution calling on all schools to stop using American Indian mascots. The Westonka School Board briefly decided to change the high school mascot to the Lakers before dropping the matter entirely until 1996. At that time, a committee was formed and recommended Whitehawks to retain the Hawks and match the W sound in Mound Westonka. Whitehawks officially became the high school mascot in the fall of 1997.
No one would deny that education has seen its share of changes over the history of the school district. Change is evident in the appearance of classrooms and desks, chemistry and industrial arts labs, and our tech education. From slates to blackboards to overhead projectors to interactive smart boards. From books and typewriters to computer labs, iPads, and Chromebooks. And from horse-drawn wagons with heated stones to modern buses, few who lived 100 years ago would recognize the classrooms of today, or the lunchrooms. But the commitment to the needs of the children of the community has remained unchanged, even as education has expanded to include gifted and talented programs, advanced placement, STEAM, and a wide range of special services.
Athletics and the arts have long had a special place in student life. Even in the earliest years, the high school had teams, plays, and choral and instrumental ensembles. At the start, most sports teams were for boys, although many Minnesota high schools, including MCHS, had interscholastic girls basketball in the 1920s. Eventually, girls' athletics existed only on a more informal basis, often as intramural sports. In 1969, the Minnesota State High School League voted to begin sponsoring interscholastic sports competition for girls. Title IX was passed by Congress in 1972. The Minnesota legislature followed with a 1976 law providing for equal opportunity for members of both sexes to participate in athletic programs. Girls' interscholastic athletics were underway.
As Mound Westonka High School and the Westonka School District move into their second century, growth continues and the future looks bright. Enrollment is rising thanks to new housing starts and the district's many honors and awards. Westonka has had top in-state test scores for more than a decade and has been recognized by Newsweek, Businessweek, and the Washington Post for excellence in education and livability. A new early childhood learning center recently opened on the Hilltop School campus, and a new community activities center and performing arts center will open in the fall of 2018 on the high school campus. In the spring of 2018, Mound Westonka High School will begin writing its next chapter.